Right, this is one thing I wanted to talk about, but I didn't know if I should talk about it, because I don't know if I'd be able to, like, properly, say it, like, saying it wrong or whatever, but I'll try to say it anyway. You know, I've said before I'm not exactly the biggest fan of the darker aspects of, like, Total lore, and, the fan stuff that comes from it, and, one thing I thought of recently that I could use is, like, maybe like a comparison as to why I feel that way is, might seem a little out there, but come on a journey with me, and I'll try to explain it. So, I've said before that I said before in a SpongeBob episode that there was a time in my life where I watched the, you know, the horse show, that show. It was a very long time ago. I think I was like 11 or 12. Because before I got into Toho, when I was around like 13. So, it's a very long time ago. But, yeah, the thing about that show is that it's a show made for children that is liked by a bunch of like adults and teenagers. And the thing about that is when you have a series like that, there's inevitably going to be like darker stuff made about it, even though it's like a children's show that has like nothing dark in it. I mean, it might have. I mean, I'm sure there might have been some like darker lore in that show, but I never watched past like season 3, so I don't remember there being anything more than like there's the funny Discord guy. I remember that guy. That guy was funny. But yeah, because of that, the brief period where I knew about that show, I like knew about some of them, and like looking back at like some of the darker stuff that people wrote about that show, when you go back and think about it later, you realize that it's some of the most like absurd and hilarious stuff when you just think about it. Because you have the one where it's like the one where Pinkie Pie, she like tortures Rainbow Dash and turns her into cupcakes or whatever, and that's just really funny to think about because it's just like this pink horse who can somehow hold knives or whatever, and she's somehow turning human flesh into tasty cupcakes somehow, and that's just the thing. People were scared of that, and that's just really funny. The other one that was really funny was the Rainbow Factory one, where it turns out that because they showed like the Rainbow Factory in an episode for like a second, and that somehow turned into. Well, I think it started with they made a song out of it. That song's actually really good, but besides the point, they wrote a story based on that song, and the story turned out to be that apparently the Society of Flying Horses, they have a secret government-run eugenics program, where basically if you fail your state-mandated flight test, the government kidnaps you, and they kill you by torturing you to death in a machine that makes rainbows. And that is the funniest thing I've ever heard of in my entire life, because it's so stupid, and the fact that like that's taken seriously, that was like taken seriously at some point, is just hilarious to think about. And like basically going back to what I was trying to like say here, when you have like the darker stuff about Total lore, where you have like, you know, Rubia, whenever she shows up, she talks about eating people, whatever, I just kind of roll my eyes, because to me, and this might just be because like I'm not really into like anime and stuff as your average Total fan is. So when I think of anime, I normally think of like the Pokemon and stuff that I watched when I was little. And then the only anime I've ever actually gone out of my way to watch is Ichijo, and that's not exactly a very mature anime, is it? So this is probably mainly a me thing, where I associate the anime art style with more child-friendly stuff than the average Toho fan probably does. Then I also, like, I think I've said before, the only manga I've ever read is Toho manga, so I'm gone much there. But basically, what I'm trying to say here is when, the idea of Rubia or some other, like, cutesy Toho character going around killing and eating people, in my mind, is just as like, stupid as Pinkie Pie turning Rainbow Dash into a cupcake. It's just, it's the same level of absurd and stupid in my mind, to where I literally can't take it seriously. So anytime it gets brought up, I just get completely taken out of anything that's supposed to be happening. Unless it's supposed to be funny. Because it is funny. And I guess, like, you know, the difference, I guess the difference is supposed to be, well, you know, like, all the dark stuff that was about MLP, you know, that was just, like, fan stuff that people made, but when it comes to, like, dark stuff, oh, you know, that actually happened, you know? Because, you know, yokai eat people, and Rumia said something about eating people in EOSD, ignoring the fact that the majority of EOSD's dialogue is absolute nonsense that's not to be taken seriously, but, you know, ignore that. Eating people needs to be Rumia's entire character. And that just makes me think of another analogy. So imagine that for whatever reason, Hasbro or whatever, they decided to reboot MLP because it was, like, popular or whatever. And they wanted to, like, appeal to, like, their adult audience, so they decided to, like, put it on Adult Swim. So it was allowed to be more darker. And they, for whatever lulz reason, decided that they were gonna make cupcakes canon. So it's now canon in the horse show universe that Pinkie Pie goes around turning people into cupcakes very violently. Would that, like, suddenly make it any less stupid? Because it wouldn't make it any less stupid for me. So what I'm saying is, when it comes to, like, the whole yokai eating people thing, it just comes across to me as really stupid. So whenever that's, like, a plot point in anything, I'm at best going to find it ironically funny, and at worst, I'm going to find it really boring because you're trying to make me take something this stupid seriously. Yeah, that's mainly what I wanted to say here.